Hi, everybody. I am bored, so I guess I just want to make this video as like a cautionary tale and tell you guys a life experience that I recently had. So, I've had a really hard time within the last few months. In February, I lost a bunch of very good friends because of politics actually. They told me they didn't want to be friends with me because of a certain view that I had. Um, and that really hurt because I don't really care what kinds of political views you have. I'm the kind of person who will be friends with anyone. So that really hurt when they dropped me. So after they dropped me, I had a hole in my heart and I was kind of just like making friends with anybody who would give me attention. I didn't evaluate if they were good people or not, which was a mistake. So, around a month after I had the friends drop me, I made a new friend. I'm gonna call her Elle. This new friend, she seemed good at first, but I did see that she was a little bit unhinged. Um, and what happened was, I did hang out a few times with her. I went to the club with her, but whenever I hung out with her, I actually had my best friend with me. So, um, I didn't feel like I was in any danger because I had somebody else. I don't drive, so having my best friend there, to be able to get us out of the situation if something went wrong, I think was a really good thing to have. But then I did something really stupid. Um, Last month, near my 21st birthday, literally a few days before, I got into a fight with my parents. And I said, you know what? I need a break. So I called this girl, I called Elle, and she had actually had a beach house. Not a beach house, an Airbnb in Delaware, which is around like 2.5 hours away from Maryland where I live. And this girl, Elle, she actually called me right after I got into a fight with my parents. Weird coincidence. And she told me that I was invited to go to this Airbnb with her in Delaware. And I said, okay. So I packed my stuff. She called me at around like 4 a.m. and she literally went and left the Airbnb at 4 a.m. to come to my house to get me. So at around 6:30 a.m., she was at my house. And I remember I had packed my stuff and I just left. And she wasn't even driving. No, she was too high to function. She was too high to drive. She had one of her friends, I'll call him K. He was driving. So then we go to the Airbnb and it's just things got really, since I hadn't gotten any sleep that night, everything's like merged in my mind. But basically I just texted my mom. I told her I need a break from living at this house, so I'm going to be staying with Elle for a time. I didn't know how long I was going to be staying with her, honestly. But then, oh no, what happened was just not very good. Um, I didn't know this, but this girl Elle struggled with a meth and cocaine addiction, and I don't do those kinds of drugs. The most I've ever had of any kind of drug was an edible. I wouldn't do drugs like that. I didn't know. I knew something was off about her, but I didn't know she was doing those drugs. Anyway, the whole time that we were in this Airbnb, she brought around like really shady kinds of people. She had like a bunch of like boys that she was involved with, I think sexually. She brought them over. And then she brought over this 30-year-old woman who Elle told me that she was like a heroin addict. This woman was nice, okay? She was nice, but she was also a heroin addict and probably shouldn't have really, I don't know. It was just a mess. And Then I think one of my friends got so worried when she heard that I was alone with Elle in the Airbnb that she decided that she wanted to go all the way from her house to the Airbnb to make sure I was okay, which was really nice. So she came to the Airbnb, and then her and Elle got into a fight. She basically started yelling at Elle, saying that Elle was putting me in a bad situation with all the drugs that she was taking. And then Elle basically yelled back at this friend who came, and it was a mess. And then one of the boys who was there had another girl toy, and he wanted to pick her up. So he drove an hour to pick this girl up. And then Elle was like, oh, by the way, they're staying the night at the Airbnb. So she told me and this friend who came, because she was worried about me, she told me and this friend to just go sleep on the pull-out couch. She kicked us out of the room that we were staying in. I did not know how to react. I thought it was kind of rude, but I didn't say anything. But this friend who spoke her mind, she started yelling at Elle. She's like, excuse me, we're your friends. We came, we're the ones staying the night, and you're kicking us out of our room, blah, blah, blah. And, oh my goodness, then Elle kicked her out of the house. And this girl, let's call her B, she was the friend who came to make sure I was okay. B said, come with me. Like, I don't trust you to be alone with Elle because Elle is using drugs right now. And I was conflicted. I was like, well, all my stuff is over here. Like, I don't want to, whatever. But B started, she called up two of her friends who actually happened to be drug dealers. I don't know why she was involved with these people. Honestly, all of this whole friend group was corrupted, and I shouldn't have been involved with them in the first place. It's a mess. Oh, my lighting just fell. But yeah, should not have been involved with any of these people in the first place. And so, let me just take this off. I thought we were just getting out. Not permanently getting out, but I just thought we were getting out of this Airbnb to just like cool down and we would come back. And I thought we were just getting dinner, so her drug dealer friends pick us up, and they actually paid for our dinner, which was like really nice. But afterwards, they started driving back to like one of their houses, one of the drug dealer's houses, and I'm like, excuse me, where are we going? We need to go back to the Airbnb. My stuff is there. Am I not gonna sleep there? It was like, by then it was like midnight, and B was like, no, remember, me and Elle got into a fight. We can't go back. And I'm like, but I need to go back. What the fuck? And then B was just like, no, it's better if we sleep at this drug dealer's house. And I'm like, excuse me, what? And I had no skin in the game. I mean, I didn't have a car. It was the drug dealer's car that he was driving. And so I ended up having no choice but to sleep at this drug dealer's house. They were very nice drug dealers, but they were drug dealers, okay? Like, I wasn't really comfortable with the situation. Meanwhile, Elle was mad, not just at B, but she got mad at me. Why did she get mad at me? Because she thought I ditched her, which I didn't do purposely. She was also high on drugs by that time. She was using the drugs. She was very, like, high. She was unhinged. She called me. She told me that she was gonna go and leave for Maryland without me. And I was scared. I was like, girl, I'm depending on you to get back to Maryland in the first place. It was really scary. It was so scary. Not scary. I wasn't scared. But I was just worried about my stuff that I had left with these random weird people in the Airbnb. I left my stuff there. There were some valuables in there. I was just really worried. And turns out though it was an empty threat because Elle was like too high to even function. Like she couldn't even get off of her bed. So the next day in the morning we went back to the Airbnb and I said, okay, luckily my stuff was unharmed. But it turns out that her friend Kay, who was sleeping there with his girl toy, he stole her car to drive her back home. Basically, he didn't have a license because he got his license taken away for reckless driving. But he was dumb. He was driving Elle's car going 110 miles an hour, and the police pulled him over and basically arrested him. And then the car got impounded, but it was Elle's car, so now Elle didn't have a car. So what did Elle do? Elle called her mom because she didn't have like anything else to do. So Elle called her mom, and then her mom, who also lived in Maryland, drove. My dog is sleeping over here in my room.
I don't want to be in this.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, basically what happened was that she called her mom. I'm telling them the story of Elle.
Do you mind editing?
By the way, when we got back to the Airbnb in the morning, after Elle called her mom to like come and save her from the situation, Elle did not want B to come in with her, to come into the Airbnb, but B was just like, I'm coming in, I'm staying in, and Elle was crashing from the drugs that she took, so she just decided to, she just shut herself in the room she was staying in, and she just like fell asleep. She was crashing, like it was crazy. 2.5 hours later, her mom finally came. Her mom saw how bad Elle was crashing from these drugs, and her mom decided to actually call the cops on her. So her mom flushed her drugs down the toilet and called the cops on her. Literally 5 minutes after her mom called the cops, Elle woke up, got out of her room, and started yelling at her mom for being there, even though she was the one who called her mom in the first place. The things that she was saying to her mom was like not okay. Like, I get mad at my parents a lot, but I would never ever like curse at them the way Elle did, or like anything like that. It was horrible. It made me so uncomfortable. Then another 5 minutes later, the cops finally came, and Elle saw out the window that the cops were coming, and she started cursing more. She's 23, and she was acting like she was a fucking like 5-year-old. I cannot even. So she refuses to get in the ambulance. She refuses to do anything. So the cops just made a report. The cops even asked me and B questions, and the cops had a piece of advice for us, which was, if I were you, I wouldn't be friends with Elle. And I'm like, yeah, I see that. So then, we told the cops kind of the details and what led up to the events, and we even said, hey, Elle had a friend named Kay who stole her car this morning, and now it's impounded because he was like going 110 miles an hour, and the cops were like, oh yeah, we know who Kay is. We actually like arrested him this morning. And we're like, oh my goodness, he's known by the cops. Like, oh my god. So then Elle's mom decided to drive both me and Elle home to Maryland, and the whole 2.5-hour ride back to Maryland, Elle was cursing at her mom, and Elle even broke the window of the car. And it was just the most awkward ride back home. And then, so what is the moral of the story? The moral is, choose good friends and surround yourself with good people. Surround yourself with people who like have your values and who won't make you uncomfortable or put you in uncomfortable situations. Because let me tell you, there was no apology from Elle or no recognition from Elle about the way that she like behaved towards me and B. And I was so uncomfortable with the fact that she was doing these drugs that I told her that I can't hang out with her if she was going to be using while I was hanging out with her. And she basically instead of like apologizing or saying, okay, understand, or saying I won't use when you're around, she doubled down and she got so defensive, and she said like, you're not being understanding of me. And so I blocked her. And then after I blocked her, she went around texting some of my friends saying that she was going to try and make a report on me and get me arrested, and she was going to tell the police that I asked for drugs, which again is an empty threat because you can't get arrested for telling the police. I mean, you can't get arrested for asking for drugs. And you also can't make a false statement to the police because I'd never asked for drugs. But yeah. that's my story. And yeah, please, if you have like a hole in your heart from friends that you lost, it's still very important that you make sure not to rush and not to just go into like a new friendship just because they talk to you. The end.